Hello, and welcome back to Void Jumpers. It's been quite a long time. I would just like to say holy fucking shit. I got a bunch of stuff prepared here that I'm going to read, and I can't wait to get to it. But I'm so excited to just be back and playing some games with some friends of mine for all you cool people out there who stuck around forever, kept me alive during the pandemic, and just wanted to mess around with us and play some games. So, I'm going to start reading some stuff that is important, but most importantly, holy fucking shit. I'm so excited to be here. We're probably not going to cuss as much during the stream as I do during my introduction, but wow. Welcome back, Void Jumpers. Okay, what's up? Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this limited run of Void Jumpers Fire and Sand. I gotta kick my fucking dog out of this room before we continue. Just a second. Come on, come here. Come on. I hate you. Be gone. Bye. To Void Jumpers, Fire and Sand. I'm your diviner and host, Jesse Lee Keeter, and I'm very excited to be here with you tonight. Before I introduce our cast, who's dope, and I'm very excited to work with them, I'd like to give you the briefest overview of what it is we're doing here. First and foremost, the rule set that we will be using is an incredibly elegant game designed by Jeremy Strandberg. It's called Homebrew World. And I'm now going to have the people who are way smarter than me drop a link into the chat for you for a forum where they discuss this game and have the PDFs for you to use. It's super cool. The system is based on Dungeon World and borrows some of its foundation from Powered by the Apocalypse, similar to what we were playing with Monster of the Week for our past game. But Jeremy Strandberg has done an excellent job of streamlining the system and putting the player and their stories first. So bravo, Jeremy. Thank you for a super cool game. And don't hate us too much for just stealing it and using it on the show. It's just very cool, and I'm happy people get to see it. Okay. Little bit of mechanics. This is the only time I'm going to do this. After this session, we're probably never going to do this again. When we play, we'll be rolling dice, surprise. And for the most part, players will roll 2d6 and add a modifier. The way this game works is very simple. Based on the results of their dice roll, they'll either get a full success at 10+, they can do whatever they want, a partial success from 7 through 9, where they can do what they want, but there's going to be some complications, or a failure from 1 through 6. But I don't like failure in tabletop games because it's no fun at all. So when players roll a failure, they'll be met with an interesting challenge instead of a straight up no. And anytime a player fails a dice roll, they earn experience points and are one step closer to leveling out. But that's enough about the rules for now. You'll pick up the rest as we go along. Before we get into the setting of the story, I would like to take a moment to introduce our cast. Welcome to the show, everybody. Lisa Coronado is streaming in live from a penthouse suite. She went out of her way to make sure that she got into a very cool location to stream tonight.
Hi everybody, I'm Lisa. I play Cleo Snook. I'm playing a thief, big surprise. Who's also a grave robber. So or a tomb raider. Sorry, tomb raider. Very similar. You can find me on Twitter at Lisa Coronado, and I'm excited to be back in the Void Jumpers universe.
Andy.
Hi, I'm Armored Andy. I'm playing Wazlaw the Wizard, or Waz the Wiz, as I've abbreviated. I pestered Lisa a lot, Lisa Coronado, and I stream a lot of Red Dead Redemption roleplay. And if you're looking for me, Twitter/Armored Andy or Twitch.tv/Armored Andy.
Paladin.
Hi there, I'm HD Paladin. Today I'll be playing Bako, a Paladin. You can find me on Twitter as HTG Paladin.
And last but not least, Lisa Levan.
Hi, I'm Lisa Levan, and I'm playing Dill Fern, who is a cleric and a healer. And I am on Twitter. It's my name backwards, so it's also Naval. And if you can spell that, good for you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited for this.
All right, cool. Now, before we get into the other stuff, I would like Lisa Coronado to talk about the Twitch stuff that I don't understand.
Oh, okay. We do have a very limited store for this run. You can buy a point for a hero. It gives them basically advantage, so they get to roll twice and take the higher of the rolls. You can give a hindrance point to Jesse, the DM, or the diviner, and that will make him have to roll twice, and he has to take the lowest of the 2 rolls. You can give 1 point of, what's it called in this game? XP. So that one is the fast pass, I believe, perk. And if we build up 5 points of XP, we get a special bonus move, which is very exciting. And then for $50, you can request a scene between 2 players that will play out within the session at some point. And I think that's all I got.
Cool. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, I would like to take a moment to give everyone an overview of the world of Void Jumpers. So for those of you unfamiliar with our last campaign, fear not. This story takes place hundreds of years in the past, in a world of sword and sorcery and high fantasy hijinks. And no previous knowledge of this world is required. For those of you who are familiar with Void Jumpers, there will be some familiar concepts and a couple familiar faces in store for you. But I think the best way to get familiar with this place is to just jump right in. So, welcome to Void Jumpers. We open on space, a sprawling view of the cosmos. At the center of it all, there is the bright, shining star of the continuum, which bathes the system in its warmth and magics. We live here for a moment, basking ourselves in its glow and pulse. And then we see it. A small world in close orbit. A desert planet. This is fire. We see the desert as we punch in. Dunes, red cliffs, barren stretches of sand. It is harsh and it is beautiful. In the southern hemisphere, we see evidence of an oasis and tight clusters of trees which depend on them. These are the pickle fields and farms. In the eastern hemisphere is a valley walled by red rock cliffs. We see the ruins of a city, a kingdom lost, though not so long ago. Then our eyes are drawn inward to the great river delta and the magnificent city which crowds its banks. This is the capital city, and it's also where our story begins. As the camera floats over the sandstone structures, each draped in colorful cloth and banners, we continue over the central bazaar and the frenzy of market day and settle eventually on a view of the palace. A towering structure of sandstone and colored glass, of peaks and towers and terracotta tiles. There is hustle and bustle about the palace as well, because today is a special day. Today is the ceremony. We find ourselves in the ready room. This is a small chamber near the heart of the palace. Inside is a table, some chairs, a cupboard, a small chest, and a display case. A bottle of wine and some finger foods have been laid out. Each of you were led here and told to wait. Welcome to the game, by the way. We're starting now. Each of you waits to find out if you've been chosen, if you've been found worthy to join the Royal Guard. You all have your reasons for applying, and you all worked very hard to pass numerous tests, both mental and physical, to determine your aptitude for the work. Some of you know each other, some of you just met. Let's figure out which. Inside the ready room, it's just the four of you. You have a few moments, and I'm curious to see how your characters will handle themselves. So, what would you like to do?
Well, I just want to say hi to everyone. I think this is a very exciting day. It's gonna be magic. That's all I have to say.
Will you tell us a little bit about what Dill Fern looks like?
Sure. Yeah. I carry a staff. Well, I hold a staff. It's not that big, but it sure ain't little. And it can sure whack you in the head and do some damage. I kind of have like a little bit of an armor thing on to protect my, all the girly parts. And then I just got some pants and a jacket. That's all I need. Oh, I do have a little purse. I always carry a pickle. I always carry a pickle.
Okay, so the rest of you see this rather modestly dressed person holding a staff give you a warm welcome.
Hi.
Hashtag drip because I don't know, I'm excited for more void jumpers and just
Sorry to
pick
interrupt you two
something.
cool cats
Thank
who are
you
just
for
doing the
coming
first
back.
scene of the show. We just got a donation. I got voices in my ears right now, guys. We'll figure this shit out later. Please. Trip hazard, thank you. The two Lisas, please continue this heartwarming scene, which I rudely interrupted.
You're so pretty. I'm Ferndale.
Hi, I'm Cleo.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Are you new in town? I don't recognize you.
Sure am. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I just came from the academy, but
The academy?
yeah.
What academy?
Well, I kind of went to a school for magic and for healing.
Oh.
Yeah. Where
That's
are you?
interesting.
Where are you from? How'd you get here?
I'm from all over, I travel a lot. Love to travel. Had a family I traveled around with and did the whole carnival sort of traveling thing for a while and broke off and kind of doing my own thing now. So yeah.
Cleo, do you want to tell us what you look like?
I'm super plain. So the compliment was really nice. I blend really well. I wear, lots of browns and greens. Got a leather, is it leather cuirass? I think it's a leather cuirass. And some daggers. And I like to be very non-attention seeking. And that's about it. That's all you see on the outside.
All right.
Well, you sure caught my attention. I really do think that, sometimes plain and simple is the most beautiful. It really is.
Thank you. That's awesome. And you said that you can heal?
I sure can. Yeah.
Can you heal like everything? Because I have got this lower back problem that's been killing me from doing stuff.
Yeah. That's a pretty common thing. Yeah, I got like a little ointment for that. I can rub it on.
I would be in your debt forever if you could get rid of this.
Anytime.
Thank you so much.
Will you be performing the ointment here?
I sure can. Yeah.
Do you want to do any magic to accompany, or are you just using some ointment?
I I just think this is a simple thing. It's just some oil and a bit of herbs. Yeah, I would be happy to help your back.
Okay, I lift up my my cuirass and I've got like just the babies of a tattoo that like poke out underneath it.
What do they look like?
The tattoo?
Yeah.
You can't really tell. It's like a bunch of points.
Okay. Dill Fern, this is going to be a move that you're going to use. It's our first one. Everybody who's watching the stream, I've never played this version of this game before, so we're learning it together. So you are going to be using a move that is a basic move called Have What You Need. I believe you have 1 point of an undefined gear piece. We're going to have you spend that, and you may write on your character sheet, healing ointments and salve, which you have now produced to rub on the lower back of this. How come you're all like plain and humble? You know, you're fucking adventurers. Whatever.
I don't like to show my cards all
Okay.
at once.
Okay.
I'm a thief. I blend.
He's in the joint.
Dill, what does this stuff smell like?
Well, honestly, this smells a little bit like a dill pickle. Gotta be honest with you. So like I just kind of look in my satchel and I pull out a little bottle of oil, and then I ask you if I can come around back, and then I see your tattoo, and I'm just like, girl, this is lovely. What is it?
Like I got it when I was like 18. You know, not a big deal. I like kind of pull my shirt down a little bit because I don't want to go into explanation about it.
Okay, so
smells like pickles.
These two are doing whatever this is. What are you other two doing? I want to just get a little taste of who you twos are before we whatever might happens next.
After I heard the comment about sometimes being simple is better, I glanced down to
Hashtag hey listen, Cleo could use an
very
advantage.
flowing, lovely robes and feel slightly insulted.
Thank you for the donation, y'all. Cleo gets a little advantage coming up soon.
Yay!
Sorry there, Waslov the Wizard. You were saying that you grabbed an enchanted what?
No, I was after they were speaking about how sometimes simple garbs and stuff are so much better. I looked down at my enchanted ones that are much more flowy and have patterns, maybe, and feel a little, maybe a little self-conscious and also slightly insulted. But then my mind wanders to all the different kinds of pickles that will be available at the ceremony.
Mm-hmm. There is a little table nearby that has some finger foods on it.
Finger pickles.
What about you, Vico?
How big is this room?
I drew a very scale appropriate model here on my sheet. You're probably in a room that's like 20 by 30. It's not huge, but it is what appears to be the ready room that's just off of the throne room. And inside, there's some stuff in it. I found it. A table, some chairs, a cupboard, a small chest, and a display case. There's been a bottle of wine and some finger food set out. There's also a fireplace and a single door leading out and a single window on the opposite wall.
Gotcha. Vico would have walked into the room and stood at attention like 15 feet away from the door where they're waiting for someone to come through.
Okay. So you take up a post next to the only door. What does Vico look like?
Not next to it, just like wait in front of it whenever someone opens it.
So you'll be the first thing they see?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you look like, Vico?
Vico looks like his equipment. He's got a breastplate on with some chainmail underneath, and there is fine clothing underneath that, but it looks out of fashion. Covering his head is a partial helmet that has a chainmail, like a covering around the back and the front, so you can't see anything of him.
The full face covered?
Full face covered.
Okay. What's the helmet look like?
It's got like an actual like metal plating on the top part and guards on the eyes, but below that it's just chainmail.
Okay. Is it in the shape of any kind of animal or statue or anything, or is it just okay? Okay. So while the three of you are talking, Vico has entered the room and taken a position directly in front of the door. Not long after that, the door is opened by a pair of guards who do not enter, but in walks a stout, red-haired fireball of a man wearing red robes with gold trim. On his head is a golden circlet beset with a large ruby. He carries a wooden staff, and this too is studded with precious gemstones and capped with another fist-sized ruby. The first thing he sees is Vico standing at attention. He then squints and looks around to where Dill is rubbing ointment onto Cleo's
Yeah, that's the spot right there.
lower back and says,
I'm pushing real hard.
That's so good.
he says, well, it looks like you've gotten comfortable.
Immediately stand up.
No, yes, sir. We are quite comfortable in here. Thank you.
Now, all of you would immediately recognize this person as the summoner of this planet, the emperor of sorts, and a very powerful magic user. This palace is his palace. And your duties as the royal guard would be to serve him and this palace, but him walking into this room to address you himself is probably not what you expected. He says, well, let's get it over with. Congratulations. You made it. As of my daughter's coronation, you will officially be members of the Royal Guard.
That's so great. Congratulations, everyone. Just so happy.
Very cool. What's his name?
This is Summoner Horus.
Summoner Horus, I can't tell you how thankful and happy I am to be here. Thank you so much for inviting us in.
Absolutely. Each and every one of you scored exemplary on your physical and mental exams.
Everyone?
I don't catch your meaning.
Oh. Nothing.
Please, it's just us. Speak freely.
I just figured there'd be more of us.
Oh, yes, from your graduating class, indeed. There have been other spots filled. I suppose, well, you've been given a special assignment. You will be directly responsible for looking after my daughter, the heir apparent to the throne of fire, once she takes this coronation. She will begin her training to become the ruler of this planet, and once she passes that phase, will most likely need special attention. Based on your aptitudes, I felt that you would best serve protecting her.
And I take out my dagger and I just casually flip it. And I look and I'm like, okay, we've got Fern. We've got Dill Fern, who's a healer. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. I look at the wizard.
Waslaw.
Waslaw.
Yes.
Nice to meet you,
Waslav the wizard comes highly recommended from the academy, as does Dill Fern, who was recommended by name from the head of the academy himself.
You both went to school together?
Well, yes, we were in different like dormitories. But, yeah, we passed. He's really smart, and I would spend a lot of time in the woods. But yeah, I know who he is. He's really good. Waslaw, I'm a big fan. I just want to say that I'm a huge fan.
Thank you. You're too kind.
And Vico, is that?
Vico.
Vico, and what do you do? What do you specialize in?
I hurt people.
You hurt people.
Extremely well.
I'll be sure to watch my back.
Vico, yeah, I've heard, performed with some of the highest test scores we've ever seen in the physical categories of guard training. Cost us quite a fortune replacing all the test dummies.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Well, I
Wow.
think you've got a good team, hopefully.
Yes. Now, before I bring Stellar in just a moment, and introduce you to your ward, I would like to have a private word with all of you. It's why I asked my guards to stay outside. There have been incidents recently of a disheartening nature. And I would hate for any of that nonsense to disturb the ceremony. So I'd like you to keep a special eye out for any trouble that might be coming in with the masses who will be joining us in the amphitheater later.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'm going to go and get my daughter, but before I do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, does she know how to fight? Like,
Pardon me?
does she know how to kick ass? Like, no offense, but like, if I gave her my staff in an emergency, could she, take someone down?
Well, she is a summoner, and she has her own staff, and she has been trained both in the martial and magical arts by some of the most renowned tutors from the academy and from the army. But I would prefer that she doesn't have to kick anyone's ass, which is why the four of you will be taking good care of her.
Can we get a tour of the grounds at some point?
Absolutely. I'm afraid we don't have much time before the ceremony, but I'd be happy to arrange something for all of you to show you the ins and outs of the palace so that you know your best way around and can move about so quickly.
Okay, great.
Are these pickles for everyone? Because I'd like to stack up on my pouch I usually carry some around. Can I grab a few? No.
He looks and sees the table for the first time, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, I hope so." And he goes over and starts eating too. I'm starving. I've had meetings all morning. Yeah, help yourself. Yeah, I think we can probably get more. You're all pretty important now. And he eats a couple more pickles, some dried meats, and then a huge chunk of bread, and says, "Okay, well, I'm gonna go get my daughter." And he walks out the door. You've all got a moment, if you'd like to have a scene before the next beat happens. Is there anything that you want to say to each other?
Mako, without turning, just says aloud, "Has anyone ever called you Waz the Wiz?"
Too many times.
Is it a
But
nickname
still-
you like?
I've grown fond of it.
It's catchy.
Easier on the tongue.
The door opens back up. The summoner, Horus, does not enter. He stands in the doorway and gestures for his daughter to enter. Her name is Stellar. You've probably seen her at public appearances, though she does not go outside the palace often. And she's just reached her early teens, which is typically when a summoner begins their training. This would be diplomatic training. This would be more intense martial training and magical training and studies of history and law. Years of work to prepare them for when they will take the throne. She wears immaculate red robes like her father and a tiara which sports a trifecta of small red rubies. And she also carries a white wood staff, but hers, unlike her father's, is not adorned in gemstones. She says, Horus says, "Allow me to introduce my daughter, the heir apparent of the throne of fire, Stellar." And then he says, "But if you'll excuse me, I must prepare for the proceedings. And when you're ready, please join me backstage at the amphitheater. Stellar knows the way. And remember, you are not to leave my daughter's side. Understood?"
Understood.
Yes.
Got
it.
I bowed.
And then he
both of them.
leaves because I forgot how to do that accent, and so I don't want to play that character anymore. So he leaves. And then the door closes, and it's just Stellar, and she says, "So, what's up?"
We're here to protect you.
Cool. You
Have
got like
felt the need for protecting lately, or
no, but I do receive intelligence reports as of recently, and that's been a trip. All kinds of stuff, way too many to keep up with. I don't know how my dad does it, but there's been some weird stuff going on, and I don't feel great about that. And I've heard some rumors too.
kind of rumors?
Kind of rumor.
Ways law.
Well, there's been a
A
lot of
wizard, a whiz, if
demonstrations
ever a
at
whiz
the
there
market,
was.
kind of like
Hashtag
shadowy
bribery
stuff
for the wizard.
and some
Also,
gross
is this
things.
like first summoner Horus
We
or one
have
of
a
his
donation,
descendants
so I'm
like
gonna
Horus 2 or
listen to
Horus
this
3?
voice in my ear for a second. Quirky. First of all, it's that first summoner Horus. I did not deep dive into my own lore though, so you guys can assemble the timeline yourself. Also, Waz, you have an I believe advantage. Yeah. So Stellar says, yeah, these like weird things have been happening at the market, and they sound really gross. But some of the intelligence reports say that they're just kind of testing the field, and that because this ceremony of mine, my coronation, is going to be a very public event, they're worried that they might use this as an opportunity to kind of reveal themselves. Whatever's been happening lately, it seems like it's some kind of anti-establishment thing.
All these pickles, they're brought in from the bazaar?
Yeah, but they are
Then-
shipped here from the oases down south in the pickle fields. I think Dill knows about that.
I sure do. Yeah. I'm Dill Fern. Yeah, and I was raised on a pickle farm. It's just a fancy way to say cucumber farm. But you know what? They grow so well down there, and they are so delicious. I can vouch for it. And by the way, I just want to say to you, Stellar, that I am so honored to be protecting you. And I will do everything in my power to make sure that none of that shady stuff gets to you, because I know, when you're young, you get scared, but you just stick by Dale Fern and I will protect you, along with all of these other beautiful people.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And maybe we can have an adventure while we're at it.
Doubly so, yes. And at that, you actually hear what sounds like a chain of small thumps in the distance. And then what is certainly a larger kind of explosion. But you are near the center of the palace, and this would be happening, you would guess, somewhere outside towards the city. But those first thumps, you can now feel a tremor in the walls, and after the explosion, the walls do in fact shake, and the window in the room rattles, and you can feel, you can see Stellar grab her staff tighter and say, "That's what I'm talking about."
Tremors?
Is this common? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, nothing that big.
It did feel a little close.
Yeah, let's see. I think we could use a move here to try and get you guys some more information. So there's two things that you can do. If you want to know what's happening currently, it would be kind of like perception in Dungeons and Dragons. We would be using a move called Discern Realities. Or if you would just like to pull from your established knowledge, you can use something called Spout Lore. Would anybody like to either decide to remember more about what's going on or find out more from this moment?
I'd like to find out more.
Okay, you're going to roll Discern Realities then. So this is going to be plus wisdom. You're going to roll 2d6 and add your wisdom modifier.
Okay. Oh, it's been so long since I've rolled dice. 7.
7? Okay. I'm going to tell you the answer to one of these questions, and you get to ask it. You would walk over to the window, I believe, and take a look out. And while the view is obstructed, you can see the outline of the city and where the bazaar is. And there seems to be a curl from several different locations of what looks like very oily green-black smoke peeling up.
And I get to ask a question?
Yes. Do you happen to have the basic moves in front of you? You want me to rattle these off for you?
No, I could.
That's okay.
Sorry.
What happened here recently? What is about to happen? What should I be on the lookout for? What here is useful or valuable to me? Who or what is really in control here? Or what here is not what it appears to be?
What here is not what it appears to be.
When you're looking at the smoke from your vantage point, you don't have a special connection to magic by any means, but you've seen some shit.
Okay.
And you're a grave robber, which gives you a little bit of insight into this. The smoke peeling off from those locations is not the result of fire. It seems to be a reaction that some powerful magic just caused. And it doesn't seem to be doing good.
So it's a byproduct of the magic, or it is the magic?
You would assume that those explosions were magical in nature, and that smoke is a byproduct of that.
And have I seen this kind of smoke before?
I think so. Roll Spout Lore real quick.
That's intelligence?
It's going to be plus intelligence. When you consult your accumulated knowledge about something, roll plus intelligence.
7.
On a 7, I will tell you only something interesting, and it's on you to make it useful. In your time specifically when needing to fend for yourself and leave your group and make your way in this world by less than legal means, and your dealings with graveyards especially, you've seen the kind of people and magic users who haunt those graveyards use magic that often has a hard time existing and therefore creates reactions like this oily smoke, fire that won't put out and is green. And usually this kind of magic requires like a fuel source that isn't easy to come by or looked upon kindly.
Well, Waz? Where's Waz? Was? What? Was?
Waz is fine.
Waz. Have you, I relay everything to the group and I say, have you come across this kind of like magical byproduct in your time at university?
Have I?
Roll plus intelligence to spout some lore.
11.
Okay. I will tell you something interesting and useful and relevant about this subject. What she's describing to you, specifically pertaining to graveyards and fuel sources for magic that is not looked upon kindly, as well as the smoke that you are now seeing outside, is definitely evidence of necromancy.
Would I instinctually grab Stella and use my invisibility move?
Would you?
I mean, if I think if we're being attacked, then I would want them to not be able to see her.
Okay. So the explosion seemed to have come from like half a mile away.
Oh, then forget. No, they're not here yet.
If you want to go invisible, you're welcome to it anytime.
I'll hold on to it just for now. I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
I'm really thinking about it.
Okay. Stellar says, after hearing all of this, I will let our intelligence operatives know what you've just told me to see if they can connect some of these dots. Maybe we should go.
Question.
Yeah.
Can I roll spout lore for Vico to see if he is familiar with these?
Yeah, for sure. Plus intelligence. Specifically like the explosions?
The color of the smoke.
Yeah.
If any of this has any relevance to what he knows. That is going to be a 10.
This reminds you of your final days in your city. This type of damage, this type of smoke, when the buildings were coming down and people were fleeing, this was there.
Permission to leave your side.
What?
I need your permission to leave your side. I'll be back.
Where are you going?
I need to go see who is doing this.
Look, man, I know technically I'm in control, but you heard my dad. Maybe we could go together? I don't think you're supposed to leave. Me. We can go.
How fast can you run?
Fast?
Please keep up.
Okay.
Vico dead sprints off.
So the door is closed, and when you grow to grab it, it's locked.
What's the check to break down a door?
I think it's just going to be strength.
Baller.
This is probably going to be... I'm just double checking to make sure that they don't have something already. Otherwise, it's just going to be a strength check.
How high up is this room? Because there is a window.
You're looking at like, I don't know,
Hashtag
floor?
hey listen, the wizard's name
so
is
the
Total
castle
Wasp.
is probably only
Shattered and
six.
jumped
Also,
out.
if you use that kind of illegal
You would what?
magic on a cat you once loved,
have
is it
Bill.
necromance? Hashtag demon hunters, hashtag not Biff.
Thank you, Merkworky. Thank you, Merkworky, for that
Wazda.
wonderful donation.
Thanks, Mark.
So I think this might just be a strength check.
Baller.
Let me just double check. I think that, yeah. I don't know why this wouldn't be. So just do a strength check, and we're going to use the success, success, partial, and failure.
Cool. That's going to be a 13.
How do you do it?
Bako is going, as he's running towards the door, takes out his sword and cuts in towards like the seam between the doors to try and do anything that would be keeping them together.
Okay.
As he tries to bolt out of the room.
So all of you see Vico in one fluid motion pull this sword and cut the door in half as they continue through. It explodes out into the hallway. And Vico, what you notice immediately is that the door wasn't just locked. There was actually a chair that had been propped underneath, which you cleaved on your way through. And also a small table which had been pushed against it as well. All of these furnitures and doors are laying in pieces now in the hallway. Stellar is now holding her staff in front of her and being like, "Whoa, that was dope." No more explosions. When you get into the hallway, it's empty.
Bako's running down the hallway.
Cool. There's a left and a right, and Stellar points to the right and says, "Let's go this way."
Bako goes right.
Cool. What about the rest of you? Are y'all coming, or are you staying in the ready room?
Not staying in a room that was going to be trapped. by
Yeah, I
three
don't want
items.
to lose the contract. I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, I'm done with pickles.
I swore to protect Stellar, so I take off after them with my staff.
Okay. You all run down the hallway to the right, and it opens up very shortly into the throne room. The throne room is empty. You were not escorted through here. You came down the other end of the hallway. But now that you're here, you can see at the back of the room, there are 3 thrones on a dais. Red carpet leads from the foot of those thrones down several small flights of stairs and a long, narrow room, at the bottom of which there are 2 double doors that are very big and closed. And flanking the red carpet, there are several different display cases. When you get there for just a moment, Stellar stops and seems to be kind of caught up in her memory, looking at the thrones. There's nobody else in the room.
Can I
Swing
case
down.
the room?
Yeah, you are going to roll Discern Realities. That is plus wisdom.
9.
Okay. I think the way that we're going to do this is we're going to use those questions below these as guidelines. You get to ask me what in particular, first of all, are you looking for?
Just anything that might be loose and valuable.
Okay. As you're casing the room, you do find yourself going over to the display cases that are on the landings of each stair. And inside them, like one item per display case, there's an ornate dagger. And then there is a crown that must have been retired from a previous summoner. Some of them just have large gemstones in them. One of them has an ornate spell book. They're just these artifacts from this dynasty that has ruled this planet. and they are in each of these display cases. The display cases are little columns with these glass domes over the top and the items sitting in the middle.
Can I get access to one of the things that has a gem in it?
Yeah. I think that there's several questions we'll need to answer first. You will need to decide if you're trying to not get caught doing this, and then also if you can get into it without getting caught.
So my idea is I take this like red bubble gum out and I start chewing it.
Okay.
And I'm going to swap the gum for the gem.
Okay. Are you trying to be stealthy?
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to roll plus dex. I believe you, as a rogue, maybe get a little advantage on this.
Advantage. Thank God. Oh, I roll 3.
Move silently, hide in the shadows. When you defy danger, scout ahead, or struggle as one. By being stealthy, you have advantage. Yes, you roll 3d6, ditch the third. The lowest.
7, 9.
Okay. You are not hidden by any means, but you have positioned your body in a way you feel confident is hiding what your hands are doing. Before we get to the actual thievery here, Vico, Cleo peels off once you all enter the room. Vico, Waz, and Dill, you are following close behind Stellar, and she has come to a stop and is now looking at the thrones. What do the three of you want to do?
Which way now?
She shakes her head and says, sorry, I was going to take us to the amphitheater where my father is. There's a secret tunnel we use to cross the distance. But the amphitheater would be putting us closer to town if you are trying to find out who might be responsible.
I know who is responsible. I want to see the individuals distinctly.
Oh, okay.
Which way to get to the smoke?
We can go through the secret tunnel and leave from there. She starts to head back behind the thrones and is now, she's like pushed in a brick that's behind a little drapery and is now starting to mess with a combination lock. What is Waz and Dill doing?
So I'm walking up behind her very quietly and just looking over her shoulder. And then I just kind of put my arms on her and just tell her, you know, it's gonna be okay.
Thank you. You can feel her shoulders relax, and she starts quickly going through the combination as though she was thinking about it before and is now just doing it easily. Waz, what are you doing?
When we went by the display cases, I was looking to see if there was anything that I might have recognized. Once we got by the brick wall, the trick wall, I would probably be watching our backs and having my staff out by then.
Okay.
So
I think the one thing that would have leapt out at you is the ornate spell book. You can see that that's probably like an heirloom of this family that's they have a so the type of magic that you all studied at the academy is like even at the highest level, the beginner's course for what this family, this like powerful magical family can do. And a lot of the things that they teach at the academy has been relayed to those teachers from the summoners over the course of hundreds of years. And so this spell book would be any number of explorations into magic and spells and experiments and results and ingredients. It's just like this wealth of magical knowledge that's been kept over hundreds of years and passed down by the leaders of the planet.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are there any plants in the room?
I think there would be plants all along the back wall in front of the tapestries that Stellar has moved to. There would be little fig trees and probably some like mini date palms and then just an array of cactus that are on these like shelves on the back wall. Why do you ask?
Well, after I'm done rubbing the shoulders, I start going around to investigate all the plants and leaves, and I'm picking little leaves and putting them in my pouch.
Okay. As you turn to do this, Stellar says, "Hey, Dill,
Yeah?
your hands smell like pickles."
Well, that's just the scent of the gods. You should be grateful that smell touched your nose.
Okay. I just thought you should know. I will be grateful. And you have now collected 2 to 3 handfuls worth of any kind of plant bric-a-brac you would like. Before the door clicks open, Cleo, what the fuck are you doing? You're trying to steal this gem?
I'm just trying to pop a gem out, and I'll smack some strawberry bubblegum in there.
Okay.
Hope nobody notices.
I think this is gonna fall under tricks of the trade on your character sheet. When you pick locks or pockets or disable traps, this will count. You're gonna roll plus dex.
Is that an advantage?
No.
Oh. 9. I just can't get away from 9s.
Okay, so you still do it, but you get to choose
Oh no.
one of 2 options. Suspicion or cost.
Oh shit. I'll take suspicion.
Okay.
Don't be suspicious.
As you are waiting impatiently for Stellar to open this door, Vico, you turn and look over your shoulder, and out of the corner of your eye, you see Cleo finishing something and turning around and pulling her hand out of her coat and straightening it. You do not see exactly what just happened, but she is standing very near a display case and then crosses back to you.
Question.
Yeah.
And this might be a discern reality. Did I notice that she was chewing gum earlier?
Let's make it a discern reality.
Cool. That is going to be wisdom. That is going to be a 9.
You did notice, but you can't tell for how, like, when it would have started. You're having trouble being like, has she been chewing gum the entire time, or did she just put a piece in?
But she's not currently chewing gum.
Cleo?
I mean, no, I'm not.
Okay.
That was my original.
Do
I'm gonna stick with it.
What was she standing near?
It was a podium. There's probably 8 of them running down the length of the red carpet in the center of the room. It's a display case. So there's a glass dome over the top of it, and each of them has like sparkling items inside.
What was the podium she was standing closest to filled with?
You will need to get closer in order to find out.
Can I just make a mental note of which one in the room she was near?
Yes, we will say that it was if you're looking at the throne, the one that is second closest on the right, and I'm going to circle it on my little paper here.
All right. Vico doesn't say anything. Vico just notes it for later.
Okay. At that point, Cleo, you join the group, and you all hear a satisfying click, and the wall slides out, revealing a small-ish tunnel. Most of the hallways and passageways in the palace are lofty with chandeliers hanging down, and they're wide enough for like ranks of soldiers to walk down. This is probably just wide enough for 2 of you to stand side by side, and the ceiling, instead of having chandeliers, has these grown-in glowing crystals over the top to provide a dim light. And Stellar says, we use this passageway to pass between the throne room and the amphitheater. It's just a lot faster. And I think, Vico, When we get there, my father will be there, but if you stand in the top seating of the amphitheater, you will have a view of the entire city, and you should be able to see anything it is that you want to from there.
Will I be able to reach it, though?
I think so. It's where everybody comes in from town, so the gate leads to the main roadway that takes us right to town. So if anything's going wrong, I'll have to go with you, but we can go together, and that path should lead us there.
Then let's go.
Okay. Stellar takes off down the hallway. Or tunnel, we'll say.
Dead sprint, going right after her.
Okay. Everybody else following along?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. So these tunnels, there are several offshoots, and as you pass them, Stellar takes a moment to just shout over her shoulder, like, that one takes you to the courtyard. Keeps going, like, that one takes you to the stockyards. That's a secret entrance to get out of the palace grounds if we ever need to escape. And it's just like pointing to these secret tunnels that are leading everywhere. And the run, you're jogging for about like 10 minutes, and then you come to a large barred gate. And Stellar takes just a second to like catch her breath and mop her brow, put herself together, and says like, okay, and gives a little like tick, 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 knock on the door, and then it is cracked open. And it leads directly into the backstage of you all would have been here as audience members before. So the amphitheater in town is just a little bit outside the market. And it is huge. It holds hundreds of people, and the seats are tiered, all stone, and there's a rather large stage. So anytime that there's a big ceremony or an announcement that gets made, the royal family usually uses this stage. You're now entering it from backstage. And much like that secret doorway that led into this tunnel, these two doors, when they crack open and you walk out, you can see the back of them looks exactly like the big stone wall behind you, even though they're very large. And when they close, if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't have seen the seam. There's several guards spaced around, milling about on patrol. Vico, you would notice that they are trying to act casual, but are actually pretty alert. And there seems to be like a buzz of people around Horus, the summoner, they are handing him like scrolls, and they are whispering, and you hear them say stuff about the green smoke, and you hear them say stuff about the explosions. And as you get onto the stage, there is another series of these ones sound a little bit closer, and the way that the ground shakes is a little bit more intense. And you can actually hear from the other side of a closed curtain a gasp and an ooh, ah, from what, now that you can hear them kind of hubbubbing a rather large audience. But you are now backstage. What would you like to do?
Running to front of stage.
Okay. You're able to, when you head towards like the center of the curtain, there is a guard there who puts up a hand and says, can I help you?
I need to get to the top row to see the city.
Sure. He actually gestures off to the side of the stage and says, we would prefer that you don't walk out on stage, but you can get out from the side stage there. It would be stage right.
Vico sighs and runs off stage.
Okay.
to
So
side stage.
Vico takes off. We will get to you. I'm going to pick up with Vico on the top railing, looking out over the city. What do the rest of you do? Stellar is kind of looking to the rest of you for guidance, knowing full well that Vico was here to go get a view.
I'd be watching the way we came to see would they have shut the door by now that we had come through?
They closed the
From the
door
tunnels?
and it's now relatively hidden. You can make out the crease, but it's pretty well placed to be where grout lines are to disguise how these large doors fit into the back wall. But you can see it is closed and locked.
I would try to get to one of the sides of the stage to look out to see how much of an audience there was, and maybe potentially, if I had enough time, see if anybody was sitting there looking all kinds of shady.
Okay. We'll say that you see Vico get stopped by the guard near center stage and sent to the right, and you follow along behind. What about you, Dilfern?
I think that I just kind of walk over to Stellar and just kind of like tap my staff against her staff and just kind of like tap my feet on the ground and try to like, pass time to like wait for everybody to figure out what has quite happened with this smoke.
Okay. And Cleo?
I mean, does Stellar need like a bodyguard on stage?
She says, usually you all would be on stage with me.
Yeah.
But probably just like a couple steps back.
Okay. I'm just gonna stick close to her and like look at the stage and see where like a good vantage point on the stage is gonna be.
Okay.
To best protect her.
You can see that when the curtains open, Horace is already kind of moving with this gaggle of intelligence guards towards center stage where there's a podium set up, and Stellar motions for all of you to go stage right with her, and she says, "When we will go out when they introduce me." So Waz and Vico. Waz, you just catch up with Vico as the two of you turn the corner and see around the curtain here. There are hundreds of people in the audience. It does not hold the full city, but it does hold hundreds of people. And there are still people streaming in through the main gate to get there. Vico, there is a ladder that leads up the side of the stands. There's a guard at the bottom and a guard at the top. But as you approach, the one at the bottom steps out of your way. And if you would like to climb to the top seating, you could step off the ladder at several different places, but you can see that it does go, in fact, to the top. And the guard does not seem to be bothering you.
I go as high up as I can.
Okay. When you get to the top, there are a few people up here in the nosebleed seats, but not as many, and you are able to just walk up to the back railing and see the city. You can see that there are still about 4 or 5 places from the first series of explosions leading, now that you're here from a vantage and seeing kind of head on, in what looks like a line leading towards the amphitheater. 2 or 3 of them would have hit the bazaar directly. The other 2 are a little bit outside the main marketplace. Their smoke, that oily green-black smoke, is dying off. There are 5 more pockets from this recent batch closer to you, also leading towards, where the smoke is just pouring off. And from here, you can see that the craters are ringed with these spirals, this unnatural spiral of green flame that's writhing and coughing out this oily green-black smoke.
Vico is going to reach up underneath his helmet's chain and grab his holy symbol.
Okay.
I'm going to use my move, Eyes Unclouded. When you pray for guidance, even for a moment, you're going to ask the GM what here is evil and get an honest answer. So Vico says aloud, "Cerulean sister, what here is evil?"
First, what does your holy symbol look like?
It looks like a flattened star chart.
Cool. Okay. Let me just see. This is cool. This is a cool move you just used. What is the name of it?
Eyes Unclouded.
Okay. Let me get that. Oh, and get an honest answer. Okay, cool. So, tell me a little bit about your deity, the Cerulean Sister.
Cerulean sister bids us to think of the fear of the dark and the comfort of home.
You get what sounds like a whispered exchange fading into like the topmost part of your brain, as though there's an argument that's being had. And then you hear kind of in stereo 2 responses to the question, what here is evil? The thing in your left ear, the voice says, the evil is out there. And in your right ear, almost simultaneously, so it takes you a second to parse this, it says, the evil is on its way. Waz, you are down at the bottom of this ladder, and probably 30 feet above you, you hear Bako say over the edge, Waz.
What is it?
Bako is going to slide down the ladder to get to Waz.
Okay, cool. I'm not going to make you roll, because I think it just looks cool.
Whispering.
Superhero landing?
No, that's bad for the knees. Sliding down, Bako whispers closely to Waz. How good are you at violence?
I have a magic missile.
Whatever's out there is coming here.
If you can hold it off, I can make Stella disappear until we can get her to safety.
Frightening. I like it.
About that time, because the 2 of you are standing out by the edge of the curtain, and you can see where the audience is, you can see what would be like directly house center in these tiered stone steps, an archway that is cut out, and that is the main gate through which everyone has been entering. After the most recent explosions, those people started running and pushing to get inside the amphitheater, and you can now see guards working to stem that tide of newcomers and try to close these large gates to lock off the interior of the amphitheater.
We need to double back and get out of here. Stella knows that that secret tunnel path to get out of the castle. So,
as you're saying that, and maybe taking a couple steps back towards Stella, she psst, psst, and waves you over, and you can hear this. The cluster of people that have been kind of buzzing around her father in the center of stage scatter, and the curtains start opening. And Horace steps up to the front of the podium, and Stellar says, he's gonna make a short speech, and then we're gonna go. You just stand maybe like 5 feet behind me, okay? We'll do all the business. Don't get in the way. And Horace takes stage behind this podium. And fuck, I gotta do this fucking voice again.
Yes!
He says, welcome, my people. Then thank you for joining us on this momentous occasion. There's some cheers and some clapping and some whistling, but there's still like this unease in the crowd, especially near the people as the gates are being like closed, and those people who just made it in are like, they seem to be out of breath, and like you see a little soot maybe like from where you are on them. He says, my daughter Stellar is ready to assume her role as heir apparent and begin her formal training to one day become the summoner of this world. The crowd applauds, There are cheers and whistles. He gestures, and Stellar nods to you guys, and then starts walking out onto the stage. What do you do?
Hey, I reach out and grab her.
Okay.
Can I cast a spell to protect her before she goes out?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay.
What are you casting?
It's the one that's Rebuke Anathema.
Oh, cool. Okay. So, brandish a symbol of your god. In your case, what did we decide?
The symbol of my god is like a little patch that has a pickle on it. and then it's got like little like herbs and plants and crystals around the pickle.
Okay. Yeah, and so the way that this spell is phrased to all of you, because this is the first time we're using it on the show, it says that beings anathema to your god, so opposed to or in some way representing the opposite of, are held at bay so long as you brandish your symbol. The weak and the craven flee outright. However, whenever you cast a spell, Dilfern, you do need to roll plus wisdom on 2d6. This is your first spell. Aren't you excited, Dill?
Yeah. Okay, so 2D. Ever.
Well,
Outside of school?
outside of school.
Okay. Wait. So wait, 2d6?
Two of your little square guys.
It's 4.
4 total?
Yeah.
And that's plus your wisdom modifier?
Well, I don't even know what you're talking about right now.
I believe you got a +2. So what does your 2 dice say?
It says there's 3 on one and 1 on the other. It's 4 total, right?
Okay. Yeah, so here's what's up. You get 4 plus 2. That still puts you at a 6,
Okay.
which means you just failed this roll.
You get an XP.
So mark an XP on your sheet. You're one step closer to leveling up.
Poor Stellar, she's on her own.
So I think that what happens is
Oh no.
your spell. So here's the deal. Normally you would pick from a list if you rolled a partial success. If you roll a full success on casting a spell, it just happens. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no complications. On a partial success, you get to do the spell, and then there's one complication that you get to choose. But I, because you failed, get to choose the complication of your spell. In your nervousness, you clutch your pickle patch tight, and you grab Stellar's arm and cast this spell. And it comes out so ferociously, we're going to say that it is going to be doing the draw unwanted attention to yourself. Stellar is wreathed in this glowing, like the color green when you see sunlight shining through a leaf, a glowing green light like that. And this breeze kicks up that only she can feel, and you feel her like gasp pleasantly as her hair starts superhero slow motioning around her, and she's just glowing. So as she walks on stage, everyone in the audience like gasps as she's now just this like glowing Super Saiyan with swirling hair walking out onto stage, and she looks back at you like and walks to join her father, who turns and is startled for a second and decides to just roll forward. So she's standing there just like billowing magical energy. It looks fucking crazy. She waves, and when she does, there's another people first they kind of cheer uncertainly because she looks so wild right now, and this is a very overt show of magic, and that's not something that normally happens. But before people can really decide what's going on, there's another thump. This one closer, followed by a rumble, and the amphitheater shakes again. You can actually see this curl of smoke coming up and behind the seats. Then another thump. even closer and much easier to hear. This is definitely an explosion. And it's also just outside the gates that have recently been closed. And when it goes off, those gates jump for a second, and everybody who's been crowded around that just fought for their way inside scatters. Horus turns to all of you as you walk onto stage, and he's got concern clear on his face, but he kind of musters the courage to turn and address the audience. And he says, "Nothing to worry about, my friends. Someone's decided to celebrate a little early, that's all." And there's like some nervous laughter, but for the most part, nobody's really listening to him. And then there's several more explosions.
How is he so clueless?
You can see around him. Somebody roll discern realities.
I'll go for it.
Go for it, Vico. I think this actually fits for kind of what's happening.
Okay, that is going to be it's going to be a 7.
Okay. You can't tell exactly what is being communicated, but you, with your more like strict militaristic-ish background, you can see that even though Horus is looking uncomfortable and kind of speaking to the audience as though nothing's happening, he's got his hand behind his back and he's making some symbols. And you can see all of the guards that are backstage starting to mobilize and take up position. Towards the exits, like weapons towards any potential points where people might be trying to come up there. And several of them are crowding just at the edge of the wings, not visible from the audience, prepared in case somebody tries to rush the stage. So while Horus is trying to play it cool and not doing a very good job, he is communicating to all of his guards that are around stage.
Vico says to Cleo, Dill, and Waz, get ready.
And on the end of that sentence, one final explosion happens, this one deafening, because the wall, not far from where you two were recently standing by the ladder, explodes. And when I say wall, I mean like the outer wall as well as the stone-tiered seats and the dozens of people sitting there. It explodes inward. Green-black smoke pours into the amphitheater, and then you see them. There's a legion of them clambering over the debris to take up ranks in the center of the amphitheater. They're skeletons. They're robed and armored and bearing weapons, polearms and swords and shields, and they pour into the amphitheater and start to stand in ranks at attention in the open center. And they're waiting. And they're screaming, and there's people trying to pull their friends and family out of the rubble, and the guards have now taken visible places around Horus at the front of the stage. And then you see a figure passing through the smoke, floating through the air, and they are wrapped in black robes. Their hood is up over their head, and they float until they are hanging in the air and visible to everyone in the amphitheater. When they pull back their hood, you see that their face is painted like that of a skull, and they wear a tall crown of black iron spikes. "Behold," they say, and their voice is amplified by magic. "Behold the frailty of your rulers and the weight of their shackles. Behold the power of an empty grave." They raise their hands and begin casting a spell. And that is where we're going to take a break.
Motherfucker.
All right. Enough of this exposition bullshit. Let's get into some combat. We're not going to do initiative, I don't think. I think we're just going to go in order. On my screen, we're just going to go in order that's on my screen because I'm selfish. So the last thing that happened was the stands exploded. This cast several dozens of people into the rubble and out, and you can see that many of them are injured. The guard that was on stage with you has now taken positions. Skeleton warriors have clambered into the center of the amphitheater and are taking position. And a floating person with a painted skull face and a black iron crown of tall spikes is now casting a spell. Cleo.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Excuse me. I would love to. You said that they're named empty to. What'd you say?
They said to consult my certified published module that we're playing today. Behold the frailty of your rulers and the weight of their shackles. Behold the power of an empty grave.
Oh. That said something else.
What?
Oh, it did say what I thought it said.
Okay, just making sure. I sent you some shit earlier today. And
You did.
I sent everybody a little like single thing that their characters know.
Yeah. And on my ears I perk up and I'm like, empty grave. Oh my god, it's them. I say this out loud.
Okay.
I'm like, it's them.
Stellar's like, what?
All I know is they it's like a secret faction and they use really dark magic. And basically we probably shouldn't fuck with them. So I'm like looking for escape routes.
Okay. Roll discern realities. Plus wisdom, please.
7.
With a 7, you can see the door behind you that is locked and sealed and looks like a blank wall.
Mhm.
And the gates in front of you have been barred. And the most obvious escape route is this giant hole that's been blown through the grandstands that skeletons are still pouring through and black smoke is pouring through. Which brings us to Waslav the Wizard.
He's still conjuring the spell, right? This head guy.
Yeah,
with the...
you are seeing this like movement of hands, and in between the hands, there is this green flame that's starting to lick between the fingers, and you can see actually as that as the flame gets more and more finite, some of the people that were blown out of the audience start to writhe on the ground as their skin starts to blister and boil, and you can see very clearly this blackness that's pulling out of these people and starting to make them die and wither as this spell is getting more powerful, and it starts to feed the spell.
I think a fireball wouldn't interrupt that, don't you?
I think it might.
Yeah.
You're gonna cast a spell,
Yes, I am.
so you are gonna roll plus intelligence.
Or magic missile, rather. Magic missile.
All
Not
right.
fireball.
Yeah, so you're gonna cast a spell, so it's still gonna be roll plus intelligence. On a 10 plus, it just happens.
So 2D again?
Yes, 2d6 and add
Plus
your
my
intelligence modifier.
10.
Okay, so you cast a magic missile. What does it look like when you cast magic?
I would like to say there's some blue in there.
Okay.
I would say not fire based, more kind of swirly. Trying to really pull out some nice descriptors here, but failing
Sure.
miserably.
Where does the magic emit from? Is it from your staff? Is it from your fingertips? Is it from your spell book?
I would probably I'd hold the staff in one hand and then generate, especially for something targeted like a missile, it would go into the staff, and then I would hold the staff out to the missile would come from the staff.
All right. You pull magic out of the air and shoot a magic missile straight and true at the skull-faced person casting the spell. I believe you just get a roll 2d4 of damage as two magic missiles peel out and shoot this person who's in the midst of casting a spell.
One is a 1 and the other is a 4.
Okay. So 5 total damage.
Was there some advantage thing before? When people
so at any point you can choose to roll with advantage.
Oh, okay.
You have to declare it in advance. In this case, you rolled a full success, so you didn't really miss out on it.
Oh, okay.
But on any roll at any given time, you have one use of free advantage.
Gotcha.
Okay. You see the spell stutter for just a second. I'm going to roll an intelligence check for this person. They're getting a +2. They rolled 2 5s. So that is going to be a 12. They release their hands for a second, and you see the spell break apart. It's like this orb that's trying to form. It breaks apart. They tense every muscle in their body, and they're floating. So they kind of flail their legs and float back, and they just push the spell back together and continue casting, and they manage to keep a hold on it. Vico.
How high off the ground is he?
I'd say probably about 20 feet. It's like floating in the center of this audience, and they want it to be seen by everybody. So probably about 20 feet, which is a little more than halfway to the height of the grandstands that you climbed to the top of earlier.
So there's no real way for me to physically reach up to him when my sword is there?
No, they're also try to imagine like a Greek amphitheater. And so you're on a stage, and then below would be kind of where the chorus could be, or an orchestra. Mm-hmm. And in that space, directly below them, because they're floating above, there's like 50 skeletons. So you could start making your way, but even before you would have to deal with their height advantage, there would be some skeleton warriors kind of in the way.
Could I throw a dagger at them?
Yeah.
I'm going to throw a dagger at this guy.
Okay, this will be considered a volley, which is a ranged attack.
I'm going to smite.
You're going to what?
I'm going to smite.
Okay. How does smite
I'm assuming
work?
this guy is a thing of supernatural evil.
Yeah. Do you have any spidey sense when it comes to that, because you're a paladin?
Only eyes unclouded.
Okay. Yeah. So here's how I think this is going to work. Even though it's a ranged attack, instead of using volley, we're just going to allow you to use smite. So you're going to be imbuing your dagger with this smite and releasing it, so you'll be able to use strength. So just roll plus strength.
That's going to be an 11.
Okay, that is a full success. So with a 10 plus, you deal your damage and you pick one from the list below. And for you viewers at home, that's going to be either to deal an additional 1d6 damage, ignore their armor and defenses, suppress one of their unnatural powers, or force it from its host, which in this case, you would be taking a gamble on something like that, since you don't know much about what this thing is.
Can I assume that flight is one of its unnatural powers?
I would say that is a safe assumption.
Yeah, I'm going to deal my damage, which is
A D10.
Is it adding anything, or is it just a D10?
I believe it is just a D10.
Cool. That's an 8.
Woo!
I want to stop him from flying.
Okay. So you tell me what it looks like when you're smiting something, because I imagine you are calling on some kind of power, right?
I take out a knife and I grip it real hard, As I throw it, it looks like a meteorite burning up, just going upward instead of down.
Okay, sweet. You let this dagger rip, and as it picks up speed, it catches on this like radiant flame, and it just sticks right into this thing's chest, passing through the spell that it is conjuring and blasting it out in smoke again. The dagger hits it in the chest, and it starts to recover, and you see there's a shudder and a flash of radiant energy, and this thing starts falling out of the sky. And in that moment, they have to make a choice to try and save themselves or save the spell. And you see them tense again as they're tumbling out of the air to try and keep a hold on this spell. I'm going to roll plus intelligence again. That is an 8 plus 2. That is a full success. They smack the ground, taking an additional 1 on a 1d4 of damage. And you see them crunch through several skeletons, which explode into bones and dust. And as they hit, this aura of whatever the fuck they're casting explodes a little outwards, but they keep a hold on this. They are, however, now kneeling in a small crater in the dirt. And you watch them try to stand up and do like a pathetic little hop, and then another pathetic little hop, and they decide that apparently they can no longer fly. Dilfern, you see all of this. You see Cleo looking for a way out. You see Waz, without hesitating, cast 2 magic missiles. And then you see Vico launch a radiant dagger into the heart of this person and knock them out of the air. Around you, there's carnage and chaos. Several injured people whose bodies seem to be fueling this weird spell. People are running around, and the skeletons are just holding point. What do you do, Dill?
How far away am I from the skeletons? Can I approach them?
You can. You're probably about halfway deep on the stage. You would just need to cross and then push through the guards there, and the frontmost ranks of the skeletons are almost up to the foot of the stage.
Okay. I think and where's Cleo again? Is she close?
Cleo, where are you?
I'm still on the stage, like I'm just like scouting the perimeter.
Okay, so I grab Stellar and I drag her over, and I just like kind of push her into Cleo and just kind of look very sternly at Cleo and say, "You better watch her." And then I turn around to the skeletons I can get to, because I want to cast a spell and speak to the dead.
That is a weird choice, and I love it. Okay. Speak to the dead. You will need to touch one of the skeletons. It says touch a corpse. I will allow this to count. And its shade will arrive to answer 3 questions honestly. Let's just get a dexterity check to see how well you can leap off the stage and get to these skeletons. So just roll 2 of your d6,
Okay.
and then add the number that's next to your dexterity.
Okay, so this is 5 plus 1, so 6 plus 1 of dexterity, so 7.
7. Partial success. Okay. What ends up happening is when you're leaping off the stage, you actually fall into the first couple ranks of these skeletons. So you end up kind of like 2 rows deep, but you've already kind of set your mind on the spell. So when you reach out to catch yourself, it's on the skull face of one of the skeletons, and there's a flare of blue light. And from its rib cage, this specter just starts clawing out. It is ethereal, so it doesn't actually move any of the bones, but you can see it reaching through. And the soul of a human being pops out of this skeleton and is now floating above you. It has a head and a body and arms, but its legs kind of taper into a little Casper tail. and it's see-through blue. Its eyes are jet black orbs, the most substantial part of it, and it floats there and says, "You rang?" You get to ask this thing 3 questions, Dilfern.
Okay.
And I wasn't prepared for this.
Well, first I would say, hello, welcome back to your body.
Thank you so much.
And my first question would be, can this evil dude be stopped?
I imagine so, but he is incredibly powerful. He single-handedly raised this army of skeletons.
My second question would be, is it worth trying to run away from him, or is he super speedy? Because he can't float anymore.
3 questions, honest. Interesting. He seems incredibly intent on achieving some kind of objective. If you are not the objective, it might be worth running away.
And then my third question would be, if we group together, are we able to destroy him?
That I don't know, because the objective he's imbued upon me and all of my comrades are to protect him. And at that moment, the skeletons that are now surrounding you all turn to look. I'm going to need you to roll plus wisdom to cast this spell, and we're going to see what kind of complications arise, if any.
What dice am I rolling?
You're rolling 2d6, and you are adding your wisdom.
Okay, so I got a 5 and a 2.
Pretty good.
2 wisdom. 9.
9. Okay, so partial success. So I need you to choose one thing from this list as a complication. Your divine power weakens, and you take a -1 penalty moving forward every time you cast a spell. You lose this spell after it's cast, so you can't cast it again until you prepare your spells. If you have favor, which you do currently, you lose it. Or you draw unwanted attention to put yourself in a spot. Or because of your background, you could also just burn a use of supplies and suffer no consequences.
I think I want to draw attention.
Okay. All of the skeletons which have turned to look at you draw their weapons. We're going to say in your immediate vicinity, there are 4 of them. 3 are holding swords and shields, and 1 is going to be holding a glaive, which is essentially a dope sword on a stick. It's like your staff, if your staff had a giant sword tip on the end of it. And they have now all broken rank to surround you, Dilfern, and are now advancing. We're now going to see Stellar's turn. So she's just been pushed into Cleo's arms by Dill and watched Dill run and jump off into this group of skeletons, summon a ghost, which is now dispersed as a group breaks rank and surrounds her with weapons. Stellar throws her staff forward, and all of you feel this great inrush of energy. The 3 magic users in the area, for a second, you feel lightheaded, as though your power is being stripped away from you. And then there's an implosion at the head of Stellar's staff, and a huge fucking fireball launches off haphazardly into the ranks of skeletons, but she shoots a little wide. You can see she just did it out of reflex. And in the back ranks, there's just an explosion of fire as like 12 of these skeletons crumble, ash blast out, and there's now a huge crater where she just shot. And she goes, whoops! Cleo, your turn.
Shit.
You just saw that happen.
She just unleashed some unwieldy fireball?
Yeah, she deliberately pointed her staff as once she saw the skeletons attacking Dill and launched off the fireball. And when it happened, you saw her father, who was at the podium preparing his own staff, look back surprised and nervous about his daughter.
And did she hit any skeletons?
Yeah, she just took out like 10 of them in the back row.
Oh. Are you licensed to use this thing?
What do you mean licensed?
Well, you're like, what, 13?
And a half.
Ooh. I look at Horace and I'm like, ooh.
He's now turned back and the head of his staff is glowing and he's shooting off little fireballs.
Okay.
In the crowd.
Well, and is there like a tangible leader, did you say? Like,
the person with the skull face and the crown is now in the center of all of these skeletons, kneeling, and looks to be finishing casting that spell.
Okay.
And they have now created a shimmering green orb of flame and are starting to like aim it. They're no longer summoning it, they're now aiming it. And the bodies around them of the injured people have now withered into black husks. And it looks like all of the moisture and life have been pulled out of them.
I'd like to backstab him.
Okay, you're gonna have to get there, and you're gonna have to get through probably 4 rows of skeletons to do so. There is chaos happening, so you can try to sneak if you'd like to.
As opposed to like running on the tops of their heads.
Oh, that would also work too. So I think that's going to be Defy Danger.
Okay.
You're going to roll plus Dex to employ speed, agility, or finesse. You will need all 3.
And this is not at advantage, right?
No, you only get advantage when you're being stealthy or if you're using one that chat got, which I think you have.
I don't know. I got an XP.
Okay. Yeah, Waz has advantage.
7. Whew.
Cool. So before you can you run off the stage and leap and start just hopping ninja style on shoulders as skeletons are swiping up at you.
Oh, it's a 9, actually. That doesn't change anything, but yeah.
It doesn't change anything. What's your weapon?
My backstab, it's a dagger.
Is it your
It's my fancy
backstory
dagger.
dagger? Okay. Describe what it looks like for us as you unsheath it.
It's like a kind of a tarnished gold dagger, and it's got a small, unusual maroon sort of gem right in the middle of it. And what's holding the gem is it looks like fingers wrapping around.
Okay. Okay. Just so you all know, we had that backwards. Lisa has advantage, and Waz has a free XP point.
Oh, this Lisa.
Would you
has
like to
advantage?
use it? That Lisa. Would you like to use it since you didn't know you had it? It seems like you're pretty invested in this move. You can roll 1 dice and see if it changes and knock the lowest one out.
11.
11 total?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are able, I was going to really make you pay for this, but because you got a full success with that and you burned your only advantage.
Thanks, chap.
You are able to bounce over these skeletons and then leap over the skull face in the center.
Mm-hmm.
Just as you land and pull your dagger and the red stone glints in the sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
you thrust the dagger into their back. Roll your damage, which I believe is a D8.
Yeah. Oh, that's a 7. That was a 1. 7.
You also get to pick 2 of these. Oh, sorry. Just for me, real quick. Roll Dex again. So that first one was so that you could get to this dude, no problem.
That was the 7.
That was the 11.
11. Oh, so roll a 2d6 again.
Yeah. And I'm gonna let you keep that 7 damage.
3. Plus dex 5.
Okay, so you don't get any bonuses from your backstab. You deal 7 damage as you plunge this dagger into this fool's back.
Okay.
You can see it goes to the hilt, and no blood comes out. Instead, the air around it starts crackling and smoking, and that green fire that you just hit, or that you've seen in his hands and in the explosions, erupts out of the wound in a like a claymore mine. I'm gonna need you to roll Defy Danger with Dexterity.
Okay. 9.
Okay. With partial damage, partial success, you're only going to take half damage.
Okay. And as I drive it in, I say tickle, tickle.
I rolled a 6, so you're taking 3 damage and you are blown backwards as the wound explodes. The dagger comes out in your hand as you stagger back. They are forced down onto their other knee, but in that moment, release the spell. And all of you see this glowing green orb floating through the air over the heads of the skeleton army towards the stage. Waz.
So his present condition, can you elaborate a little more on that?
Sure. You guys have dealt total 20 damage to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of your HPs are that high. Just double checking. Oh, Vico's at 20. So this amount of damage would have killed Vico. They do not seem to be feeling it all that much. However, you have seen your weapons get through. You've seen pain on this thing's face, but a close-up melee attack just created a counter blast of magic. And they are in the dirt panting, but they've just released this orb that they've been casting for the last several turns towards the stage. They are currently like surrounded by this skeleton army who is just at attention facing out, except for the few that are starting to encroach around Dilfern.
So he's already sending that green
orbs going through the air.
Oh, okay.
It's like rippling as it floats through the air. It's not a quick, it's not a fastball. It's like this weird floating bubble.
Okay. The skeleton closest to me.
Okay. You're on stage, so they're maybe 10 feet away.
I want to contact that spirit.
Okay.
And am I able to convince it? Or I guess once if I succeed, then I can elaborate.
A spirit manifests before you and is bound to truthfully answer any one question that you pose it. So the spell's going to go off. I'm going to let you do what we did for Dill so that you can perform it first, and then we will roll after and see what kind of consequences happen.
Can I take that back then?
Yes.
I want to charm the nearest skeleton.
Okay.
Technically, it's charm person, so would that still count? Given that there is a soul potentially attached to it based on the interaction that.
In other denser systems, there are differences between charm, where there will be charm person, charm monster, charm animal.
Gotcha.
This spell book for your character is extremely limited, and there are no other versions of charm. So I'm gonna let this one play. You are still gonna need to cast you're still gonna need a roll for it, but this will be a viable target for the spell.
Okay, so roll first or say what I want him to do. Okay.
With contact spirits and shit, you guys get some answers. So I'd rather have you roll second. But no, with this one, roll first.
5. Oh wait, is that with intelligence?
Yeah, that's plus intelligence.
7.
Okay. Ooh, that was close. You need to choose one of these. Reality twists around you, say how, and you take -1 penalty cumulatively moving forward. You lose this spell after it is cast, or you draw unwanted attention and put yourself on the spot.
I do the last one.
Okay. You are able to. What does it look like when you cast this particular spell?
I'd say this would be more like a small little, almost like a disc with like, with a bit hollow, and I would push it with a hand, and it would kind of just go right into the skeleton's skull.
Sure. It passes through their skull and then kind of horseshoes around their spine and lays on their collarbone like a necklace. And you can see immediately that the skeleton is going to, what does it do? They treat you as a friend until you prove otherwise, or they take damage. They lower their weapon. However, the 4 skeletons around them turn to face you and begin marching towards the stage. Again, it's like this little group of 4. 3 of them have a sword and shield, and another one has a glaive. But you do have a skeleton friend. Vico, that brings us to you.
There's this spell still going on?
Yes. Now the spell has reached the stage and is bubbling towards Horus, the summoner.
Does this thing count as a thing of supernatural evil?
Yes. Yes. I think that you know enough about this kind of magic that you could say, yeah, you just watched it fuel itself by pulling the life force and moisture out of like 6 humans.
Can I smite it? It's a thing of supernatural evil.
Right.
Can I smite it?
Yeah, I think that you could.
Cool. I'm gonna go and try to smite it.
Okay, with a melee attack?
Yep, with my sword.
Okay, you are going to roll strength.
Yep. That's an 11.
Okay. You get to pick one of the things from the list below that we
I'm
went over
gonna
before.
suppress one of its unnatural powers.
Okay. I think I know how this works. So roll your damage.
That's gonna be a 6 on the damage.
Okay. So you again pull your sword, and as you swing it, kind of like the way that the knife was traveling and picked up speed, you all watch as the sword gains speed and catches on radiant flame as Vico cleaves this spell in half. And I think half of it continues forward. It rotates, and the other one just dispels at first. The half that continues forward bubbles until it gets to Horus, who's busy shooting fireballs, and it hits him and envelops him in this roiling envelope of black and green smoke. The other half splits off into 3 ghosts that look very similar to the one that Dill Fern just summoned out of the skeleton, only this one, instead of being calm and blue, is screeching and flying around frantically and is the same green color as the spell, and now are circling Vico. There are 3 of these spirits, and they are wailing as they circle you. The skull-faced person in the center reaches out towards Horus, where he is surrounded in smoke, and yanks back as though pulling a rope, and nothing happens. And he centers himself again, this time with both hands, reaches towards Horus, who's enveloped in his smoke, and pulls back again, and nothing happens. And whatever Vico did to the spell seems to have disabled whatever this second part of it is. And you see him frantically start to cast something else. There are two different colors, one black, one green, in both hands, and he seems to be casting them with single finger movements and carving runes in the air. But Horus remains on stage, enveloped in this smoke. And there are now ghosts circling you, Vico. Dilfern, what do you do?
How close are the skeletons to me?
You are surrounded by them. You are in the middle of this army, but only 4 of them have peeled off to fight you. They are now advancing within arm's reach. 3 of them have swords and shields. 1 of them has a glaive.
Okay. And so can I turn my staff into a holy weapon to fight them, to like swing around and like just knock them all down?
Yes. You need to roll plus wisdom. So 2d6 plus your wisdom modifier.
Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. That's
Okay.
a 6. Never mind.
No, you still. So the way that this works is, you cast holy weapon. So the weapon that you are holding is now magic until you drop it or the spell. You gain advantage on all damage rolls. But if you cast any other spells while you have this up, you will be casting them at disadvantage. So for now, every time you whack somebody with the staff, you're dealing better damage. However, because you failed, I get to pick one of these things. I think one of your charges of supply, when you are casting this, because you are surrounded and a little afraid, you lose your focus for just a second, and you almost lose the spell. But you instinctually reach into your pouch of herbs and grab a handful and burn them up. And the smoke, like burning sage, clears your mind for just a second, and you're able to cast the spell into your staff. But you have expended 1 use of supply in order to do so. But you are now holding a holy weapon. Would you like to attack with it?
Yes.
All right. You're going to roll plus strength to hack and slash.
Okay. What dice am I rolling for that?
2d6, and then add your strength modifier.
So this is 11,
Oh, that's good.
and my strength is 1.
Okay, so you have a full success here, which means when you fight in melee or close quarters, roll plus strength. On a 10 plus, your maneuver works as expected. And you can either evade the incoming attack that is about to happen on you, or deal extra damage, but suffer an incoming attack. What would you prefer?
Oh. Can I get help on that decision from others?
Yeah, pull the group.
If I get hurt, can you guys come help me and somebody heal my wounds? What do you think I should do?
Is this an attack on all these skeletons going after?
This is going to be
or
an
just
attack
one?
on a single skeleton.
On a single.
That's it, just one.
Nobody's really tangled with these skeletons before, so you don't know what they're going to do. Just use your gut, Dill. Nobody gave you a straight answer. What's your gut tell you? You want to hit this motherfucker extra hard or protect yourself?
I want to hit him extra hard.
Okay, so you're going to roll at advantage now. 2d6 for your regular staff damage. So roll that first.
8.
Okay. What are the 2 numbers?
6 and a 2.
Okay, so you're going to discard the 2, keep the 6.
Okay.
So you got a 6 damage coming through to the skeleton. Then roll another. I interpret this rule as all damage while you have a holy weapon is going to be at advantage. So because you're hitting extra hard, roll 2 more d6 and tell me the higher number.
6.
Okay. With a massive downward strike, you knock this skeleton's head through its spine and rib cage, and you watch the bones explode outward, and your staff hits the ground with a blast of radiant light, and the skeleton crumbles into a pile, and you have successfully dispatched the one with the sword closest to you.
Take that.
While you say that, the one with the glaive jabs you with its stick,
Oh,
and you take 3 damage.
No, not Dill.
and I'm just sitting there rocking back and forth, holding
And it
on
just
to my staff.
mechanically pulls the glaive back out and continues to advance on you. Cleo, it
Yeah.
is your turn. You see now that the skull-faced person, in one of their hands, a glowing green sword that looks to be made of fire appears, and in the other, a morning star flail that appears to be made of smoke appears, and they stand up and start walking towards the stage.
Do I have handcuffs in my stuff?
Did you spend any of your gear on undefined?
No. It says that I have
Cleo Snook.
pick files. It says I have lockpick files, etc. Is the etc. include handcuffs?
I don't think the thing a guard would slap on a thief counts as a thief's gear.
Okay.
This would be one of those opportunities where if you guys put points into undefined in this moment, you could use that to just have handcuffs or anything you need.
Should have done that. Gosh. So he's holding like a tangible sword, like I could grab it?
It's strange. It is absolutely a magical weapon. Roll discern realities.
Okay. What do I add? 6.
Wisdom.
7.
Okay. You're not sure. It does look like a tangible sword because it is holding its shape, but the material that it's made out of does appear to be the same green fire you've seen a lot of the magic this dude's been casting is made out of, and therefore is writhing and moving and altering slightly. So whether or not it could exist outside of his grip, you are not sure.
Okay, I'd like to cut his hand off and then hold it with his own hand.
Okay. At this point, he has pushed through the skeletons and is climbing up onto the stage and moving towards Horus, who's enveloped in this smoke.
I'm gonna sneak behind him.
Okay. You're gonna
Do a
roll
little
with advantage.
wrap around, hack and slash.
Roll with advantage. Give me plus dex as you move silently and hide in the shadows.
Oh shit. 14.
Okay. That's good. So the last time you stabbed this dude, it blasted you backwards into the skeletons, and he seemed to pay no mind, cast this new spell, and move towards the stage. You're now able to slink in his path and follow him up to the stage and leap up unseen to be able to backstab. Roll again, plus dex. This is not an advantage.
Not an advantage. Okay.
Because they are up close and they don't see it coming because you rolled so high on your stealth.
9. Sorry, 9.
Okay. Yeah, great. You're going to deal your damage first, which is a D8.
This is to hack off his hand?
Yeah, I think that you are able to slink around and just slap it off.
I got an 8.
Okay, you deal 8 damage, and then you are able to pick one. I would say, out of the list of what you can do, strike a weak spot, ignoring their armor, kind of seems like what you're going for.
Yeah, right in the wrist, area.
Okay. Because this is hack and slash, you are going to suffer an attack, but you come around with your gilded knife and just effortlessly slice in between the gauntlet and the sleeve. The hand holding the green sword is severed.
Yes, I pick it.
And though you're using a straight blade and nothing that's been heated, the wound immediately looks like it's cauterized. But the hand falls and hits the stage, and when the fingers open, the sword dispels. And you see, pouring from the wound, black smoke that forms into a hand that remains to be made out of black smoke, much like the morning star. The person looks at it for a second, then looks at you and smashes you in the face.
I deserve that. Can I flip him off with his own hand first?
It's lying on the ground, kind of like crinkly. You look down to grab it and then are punched full on in the head. You take 3 damage.
Oh, no.
You feel for just a moment that hand that's made of solid smoke break against your nose. And when it goes up, you feel lightheaded and you start to see stars, and it smells like sulfur and brimstone. And then the person pulls the fist back.
I snorted his smoke?
You snorted
That's
the
terrible. That's disgusting.
He's now spinning the Morningstar flail. Waz, your turn.
I can say something verbally and then do an action to someone else, right?
Yes.
Okay. I want to look to my new skeletal friend and say, Scully, please protect me against these 4 people. And then I would have noticed the baddie getting up over on the stage, right?
Yeah, because you're still on the stage.
Yeah.
So this would be to your left.
To my left.
They've just climbed up. You watched Cleo come up, cut the hand off. You watched them regrow a weird hand and just punch Cleo in the face.
I would love to try maybe another magic missile.
Okay. You back up to cast the spell and watch as Scully pulls the glaive and starts swinging in these long arcs. He does not make contact. It seems to clatter against the shields, but in doing so, it forces these skeletons back, who are now slashing at them, and they're just kind of like mosh pitting around you. You're able to slip back and cast magic missile plus intelligence.
All right. A 14.
Full success. No consequences. Roll your damage. This is at Smoke Hand guy?
Yes. Okay. The one who just punched Cleo. 1 and a 2.
Okay. So 3 total. Okay, they just blast in the side, and he actually turns to look at you and just puts a hand up and turns back and starts to swing that morning star of smoke at Cleo. Vico, your turn.
Okay. How far away is this guy from me? The spellcaster guy, the skull-faced guy.
You still haven't left the stage, right?
Correct.
And you actually stepped to where Horus was in order to block that first spell. So I think you are within like 5 feet. He's headed towards Horus and you're standing near Horus.
Great.
Cleo just happened to like distract him.
Great. I'm gonna walk up to him and smite.
Okay. He's focused on Cleo. He has a hand held out towards Waz without even looking, and you just see an opening and take it. So roll your smite.
All right, here we go.
What is smite? Makes me think of like just staring him down real hard.
It's like imbuing a melee attack with god energy.
Oh, never. Maybe I'm thinking of smize. I don't know.
Yeah, surmise would be more like looking at something, getting the draw of it. Smite is like an
Bouldering.
extra, is like a normally someone who's righteous hits something that feels good about it. It's like feeling extra good about hurting someone.
Yeah, like I
which-
smite you.
Yeah, which I definitely do. So this is going to be an 8. So I deal damage. I can pick one of the effects, and I expose myself to harm or unwanted attention. I'm going to expose myself to unwanted attention.
Okay.
I want him looking at me.
And what is your extra effect?
I am going to suppress another one of its unnatural powers.
Which power would you like to suppress?
I want him to stop casting spells. Is that a thing I can say? Just stop the magic, or can I just stop the smoke arm thing?
I think that
not right.
I think that you could choose an active ability that you can see.
Okay.
Perhaps in a lesser spellcaster, you could lock their magic. You do not get the impression that you would be able to lock this magic, but you do have the ability to choose either. Actually, because Cleo cut off the green energy, both of these powers seem to be casting from the same place. You are able to deal your damage first.
I want to lock that down real fast.
Okay.
That's going to be a full-on 10.
Wow. All right, you guys have dealt 41 damage to this dude. So you bring the sword down and slash across the robes, peeling them away, and underneath you can see flesh that is pale and black veined and like cracked skin. And as this radiant blast emits from the sword, the Morning Star, which was swinging at Cleo, dispels into a puff of smoke. And as he goes to wave his hand to balance himself after it does not connect, his hand also dispels. He's now holding nothing and has a stump where his wrist was. And just says, "Fuck!" and turns away from Cleo and looks at Vico and says, "You insist in engaging with me, though the source of my power would make you weep." And he stops what he's doing and walks towards Vico. He is going to cast a spell. I'm rolling plus intelligence +2. That's not great. I rolled a 5. He's getting +2, so that's going to be a 7. So he's going to cast a spell at Vico. But then he is going to... I think... He's going to open himself up to a counterattack if you'd like to take it, Vico.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can just do some kind of move at him.
It would be a hack and slash. You can roll plus strength to see if you hit. There will not be penalties involved. As long as you do not roll a failure, you will be able to just hit him.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that is going to be, oh god, a 7.
Okay. Deal your damage.
Cool. With hack and slash, it says I can choose one effect.
With this, because it's a counterattack, there's not going to be penalties, nor is there going to be additional. You're just kind of seeing if you can get a quick strike in there.
Cool. That is a smooth 10. I was about to say
man.
0.
Okay. Wow. Okay. 51 damage is a lot of fucking damage.
I'm cycling through all my d10s. This keeps happening, and I'm not sorry about it.
You just stab straight and true, and the weapon sinks in. He concaves just a second and wraps his only hand around the blade, but rather than pull the blade out, he just walks forward and thrusts the blade in and thrusts the blade in until he gets to the hilt of your weapon and your sword is sticking out of his back. He then grabs you around the back of your helmet and breathes in to the eye slits. And you feel every piece of metal on you, including the sword in your hand, heat very, very, very rapidly. You are going to take 1d8. It's like technically fire damage, but the armor is not on fire. It is just heating very, 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 very fast. That's only going to be 3 because it's not that hot yet. Okay. He is still holding you firm. Still firm.
Can I rebuke anathema? Can I try it again?
Yes. So technically, it is still, the way that I see it is still active on Stellar.
Okay.
So if you would like to do it, you will be taking it off of Stellar and then placing it somewhere else. Okay.
Can I place it on Vakao?
Yeah. So the second that you change your focus, you see that like glowing aura and huge like supermodel hair drop off of Stellar, and she staggers back for just a moment, and you throw this spell towards Vico. So I think you're just going to roll to cast a spell.
Okay.
And again, it just happens, but you might have some consequences.
Okay. This is 7.
Okay. Yeah, so you are down in the midst of these skeletons, and you throw anathema onto Vico. Vico, you feel yourself glow all of a sudden with an energy that is very close to the spiritual kind of radiance that you call upon when you're smiting and such, but it's just like slightly off center. It feels a little bit more hippy dippy, but still equally as spiritual. And there's a blast of radiant energy as the skull-faced person who is gripping Vico flies off of the sword and tumbles across the stage. The spell goes off and is no longer active, but has successfully... What is the exact wording on this? For anathema? Holds him at bay so long as you brandish it. The reaction was so intense that the spell goes off. However, because it was a partial success, one of the 3 skeletons still remaining next to you slices down with the sword and takes a hit at you. Oh. And you are going to take, on a d6, 6 damage, full damage. It cuts across your back as your focus is completely on your friend, and it slashes through and gets through some of your armor, and you could feel blood spreading beneath your armor. At this point, Stellar, who's no longer protected by this, runs to where her father was, surrounded in this black smoke. She raises her staff in the air, mumbles some words under her breath that you cannot hear, and then slams it down into the ground. And a wave of fire spreads out under all of your feet and covers the stage for just a moment before it disappears. She then looks to the envelope of smoke around her father, and you see a look of utter disappointment just sink into her features as whatever she was trying to do had no effect. Cleo, you are on stage, having just sliced off Homeboy's hand. He has left you and then been blown past you as Dilfern cast Anathema on Vico. Vico, currently, you are still encased in armor that is getting hotter and hotter. All of you can see it's starting to turn red, and regular smoke, not this weird necro smoke, is just starting to billow off it as Vico is overheating and burning alive inside their armor. Cleo, it is your turn.
Amphitheater. Is there lights everywhere?
I think we're in like weird fantasy times, so instead of lights, it looks just like a light grid, but instead of like lights, they're glowing crystals and shit.
Ooh, that's not gonna help me, but that's cool. So we need to cool off Vico. Like that's like #1 priority right now.
Me personally, like running the bad guys, probably pretty low on my list.
Yeah.
But if you guys are interested in that, yeah, I guess maybe I'll try and stop you.
I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine.
Okay, well, I don't have any healing properties, but I'm gonna look for some water.
Okay. Discern realities.
And that's plus wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 10.
Oh, that's a full success.
Yes.
I
got you, Visk. I got you.
There, I think that you don't find water. I think that you find the fantasy old-timey equivalent magic version of a fire extinguisher. It's like this thing that's mounted on the wall next to a hand-painted sign that says emergency. And it's just like...
On Fire Planet?
On Fire Planet. It's just like a glass, like enchanted glass. So there's a light sparkle to it that's capped with a hose and a release valve. And inside, there's just like a sapphire that's floating and like kind of sparkling inside this device. That is the closest thing you can find to a way to put out your friend.
It looks legit. I'll use it.
Okay. I think you're going to be defying danger because you have to cross this stage, which is now starting to see skeletons climbing up onto it as their master has engaged with you, and grab this thing and be able to use it. So,
that's advantage.
Let her rip.
Yes. And I'm adding what to it?
This to me is Dex. You're scrambling across a stage that's full of enemies and dodging probably some blows that are falling your way.
That's an 8.
Okay. You're going to be able to get there and grab the thing, but you are going to take a glancing blow with a D4 from a skeleton as you pass.
Okay.
2 slashing damage as it catches you in the thigh as you're leaping and rolling.
Oh, it's a flesh wound.
You get to this device and yank it off the wall. It is ice cold in your hands to the point where you almost feel like your skin's going to stick to it. What do you do?
Is that skeleton hand still near me?
We can say that you could have picked it up on your way.
I would have picked it up. So I was trying to make it flip them off.
Yeah, so it was at your feet before you took this little dash.
I'm going to use that to grab the thing.
Okay. You, like an oven mitt, grab the fire extinguisher and head towards Vico. And there's one thing on it. And when you pull it, it's not fire extinguisher foam that comes out. It's like the spell Blizzard gets cast out of the nozzle, and you just blast Vico.
And I'm like, close your eyes, close your mouth.
You blast him with like this high level spell that's been contained in this artifact. And you see as this howling wind and flurry of snow just starts to coat him. And at first, it's just melting and melting and melting. And then eventually it does start to stick, and they are covered in snow and ice and look like a snow person. However, you are going to take some cold damage.
Oh, no.
Not much, because you were encased in like a cast iron skillet that was being heated on high. So just a D4. You take a full 4 cold damage. However, you have negated the heat metal spell that was going on. Vico, you are currently snow personed, but no longer in pain. Waz, it is your turn.
Can you describe Horace's status right now?
Horace is still behind the podium, but you can no longer see him. He's enveloped in this swirling teardrop of that green-black oily smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Standing right behind him is Stellar, and she's just tried to cast some kind of dispel, and it did not work. It was a heavy blast that just came out of her staff, but nothing happened, and she looks kind of disappointed. And the skull-faced person, who's looking pretty worse for wear, who's just been blown across the stage and is missing a hand, has now gotten to their feet and is walking kind of beeline towards Stellar.
Mm-hmm. And my boy Scully's holding off the...
Scully has destroyed one of the... I'll mark it. Scully's destroyed one of the skeletons and is continuing to back to the other two, keeping them off you. So there's no skeletons fucking with you. They are climbing onto stage. Some of the guards are engaging with them now. It's turned into a very pirate ship fight where there's just a lot of people swinging on ropes and fighting each other all around you, and you're kind of in the heart of the storm.
What is my distance to Horace?
You've never left the stage, so I'd say maybe 15 feet.
Okay. I do know in my gear I have amulets and talismans. Would there be anything that might be able to either protect him or ward off this swirling little vortex of black smoke and green flame and all that?
So I think the way that amulets and talismans work, because it says you have one use and it negates a magical attack.
Mm-hmm.
I think you gotta grab it out of the air. So once this thing has detonated, you couldn't necessarily fuck with this smoke, but you probably could have caught that slow moving bubble out of the air.
Gotcha. Okay. Then I probably want to move to Stella.
Okay.
And use my invisibility.
Oh, cool. Touch someone, they're invisible. Lasts until they attack or you cast another spell. Dope. So
get
you
them behind
cross
the curtain at least.
It's kind of like a sprint, I think.
Yeah.
You are sprinting towards Stellar as this skull-faced person is as well, and you both reach out to grab her, and your hand lands first.
Okay.
You will be casting invisibility. Roll plus intelligence to see if any shit happens. Has everybody been keeping track of their XP whenever they've rolled a failure?
No.
Well, you should be, because y'all...
Maybe I have one. I thought I had one. I heard one somewhere in chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a 9 for that.
Okay. You will need to choose one complication. Reality twists around you, and you take -1 cumulative moving forward. You lose the spell after it gets cast, so it would still be successfully cast, but you couldn't use it again until you rest. Or you draw unwanted attention or put yourself in a spot.
I would say maybe in how I touch her, she goes invisible, and maybe I'm pushing her through the curtain, so that by the time I get back up to my feet, I'm still on the stage. She's behind the stage for the invisibility spell to end, because I have to keep touching her, right, for her to stay invisible. So I would put myself in a spot against old regrowy arm guy.
Okay, that makes sense to me. You grab her arm, cast the spell as you pull her through. She goes invisible. Vico and Cleo, you feel someone smash into your back and push you into, face first, the snow that is accumulated on Vico. And when you turn around, whoever just ran into you is not visible to you. However, Waz, as you turn back around, the skull-faced person is looking right at you. And they've raised their good hand and they put it on your face, and they are going to cast a spell. That is a 9 plus 2. So that is an 11. That is a full success. What they do is, I don't know how this would work mechanically. It's a kind of dispel magic. So basically what they're doing is they are casting one of your spell penalties back onto you, and they are making you lose the spell. I'm going to roll. How many spells do you have prepared at the top? 5?
5, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to roll a d4. It's going to be a d4 plus 1. Only 2. It's 1 plus 1. You need to choose 2 of your spells, and they are lost. And in that moment, you feel the power of those 2 essentially spell slots, these places that you can hold magic, get sucked into this person's hand. What 2 spells do you choose?
The ones I'm going to lose will be Light and Contact Spirits.
Okay. There's a bright flash of light, and it burns through all of your vision. It's like every one of you just got hit by a flashbang. Except for Dill Fern, who's down off of the stage. There is a flash, Dill, but you see this clearly. Vico, Stellar, and Cleo, you are all blinded. As are you, Waz. However, immediately following that, you feel your body fall backwards, but your mind stay forwards. And you get the sense that all of a sudden, you have somehow astrally projected, and Contact Spirit is being cast on you. I get to ask you one question that you have to answer honestly. Where do you get your power?
From the continuum. From the galaxy.
Your spirit slams back into your body. Dill, you watch as Waz's body flies across the stage and tumbles. The skull-faced person reaches out their good hand, grabs the top of that teardrop of smoke that's encompassed Horus, and rips it away like a matador would as a bull was charging. And as it dispels, the smoke and Horus are gone. Blackout.
Horse?
Yeah, man. If it wasn't for Vico, that dude was gonna just like cast that spell and pull Horus right to him. But Vico kept him on the stage when he smitted him. Okay, well, that was our first session.
You always end when I'm like, no!
Yeah, man, I was going to have that dude be out of there real fast and just like get what he wanted and bounce. And then you guys were going to have to fight a bunch of skeletons, but you guys kept the magic caster around and you just had to fight a necromancer that whole time.
You know what I wanted to try to do?
What? I
wanted to charm, had I been a turn earlier, I wanted to charm one of the skeletons and convince it to jump into the bubble as it was going towards Horus.
Oh, that probably would have worked. So the whole thing about that was it was a contact spell, but I wanted it to move very slowly because it was powerful. which was why Vico was able to cleave it and remove part of its shit. Yeah, weird. That's cool. All right, what else? What are we supposed to do at the end of a stream? We won. You guys won. Congratulations.
Where
But
do
did
we go from here?
really?
Well, we're gonna play again next Friday. And we're gonna pick up right where we left off. You all just let the summoner of the entire planet get kidnapped by a necromancer. So I can't wait to see how you think your way out of that one.
Wait, but we protected the daughter. So
That was our job. Yep.
You did
That was
save.
our
You
job.
did save Stellar.
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 I think people are asking if you used your trip hazard.
What was I supposed to do with that? Screw myself?
No, you roll at disadvantage.
I roll at disadvantage? Oh no, I didn't. I probably should have done that when I was gonna do big powerful magic. I'm gonna make a note.
Top of the game next week.
And whatever I do first, I'll make sure it's juicy. I won't blow it on something. I'll make sure it's a juicy. Actually, let's decide something real quick. No, fuck it. I'll make sure it's juicy and I'll give myself a trip hazard at the top. That's just me being a jerk for not using it. I apologize. Okay, disadvantage. I drew a smiley face and a finger pointing at myself. I mean, a frowning face and a finger pointing at myself. Okay, that's the end of our stream. We're going to play again next Friday at 6 p.m. This is a limited run. So we have 6 episodes. This is the first. Hopefully we see the beginning, middle, and end of this story. But this time we got to meet the characters, meet a bad guy, and do a little fighting. We'll pick up there when we left off. Lisa, I'm going to put you on the spot. Will you just end this stream? Will you say something smart?
Oh, do you want? Thanks for hanging out with us. This was super fun. Sorry, I'm in bed. Hopefully, we'll be upright next week. And if everybody could just let us know where people can find you on social media, that would be great. Starting with Jesse.
Oh, hold on. I had an idea. I'm gonna do a game thing real quick because I feel like it's fucked up that I didn't give that person their reward. So I'm gonna roll something at disadvantage here. I'm rolling plus intelligence. So I'm gonna roll 2 first. Okay, so that's bad. One of those is a 2, so I'm gonna keep that 2. It's even worse. Okay, so 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay. Vico.
Yeah.
Remind me at the top of the next thing. That spell that just used to transport somebody away, they did not get away clean. I'm going to give you information about what that spell was that they used to disappear. Because I rolled a 7 with disadvantage. I'm sorry that it took me so long. I wasn't planning to give them any fucking information about this.
Thanks, chat.
But because I was a bastard, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information. Okay, sorry. Lisa, you can find me at Jesse Keeter on Twitter or something.
Perfect. Andy.
Armored Andy at Twitch and Twitter too. And maybe other places. I don't remember anymore. There's just so many.
Lisa.
You can find me at Instagram. You just search for Lisa Levan, and then also I'm on Twitter, but not that often. But my handle is it's Asil Naval, and it's ASILNAVEL. So it's my full name backwards.
Paladin.
You can find me at HTTPaladin on Twitter.com.
And I'm Lisa. You can find me at Lisa Coronado on all the things. And then if you want to find me on Twitch playing Screamy games, it's Hey Smalls. Smalls has a Z. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Come play with us next week.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.